Hello everybody, I'm Dawn, your teen librarian, and welcome to Sewing Club, and right now you're going to learn how to make a sleep mask. Start by iron on your decal. It looks better on a solid color, but you could do it on any side, just not the fleece. Please have an adult help you if you are too young to use an iron. Next, we're going to iron on the insert because this is what makes it soft. So you have 3 pieces to your sleep mask. You have the outside design, which is the galaxy in the middle. Yours might be different. You have a black fleece. This goes on your eyes because it's soft. And then you have the white piece, and that's called fusible fabric. And so what you want to do is you want to turn over your front side of your mask, and then you want to put the fusible fabric with the rough side facing down, and you're going to line it up in the middle as best as you can. Now it's time to iron. Remember, have an adult help you if you're too young to use the iron. Grab a t-shirt or something thin to place over your mask, and then you want to iron. But you want to make sure you have water in your iron because you need to steam it. So you need to press the button that makes the water squirt out of your iron, and then you're going to iron over the water so that it steams. Please have an adult help you if you don't know how to use this, or you're not allowed to use appliances on your own. And then you're just going to iron over the steam for about 10 to 20 seconds. And just check periodically to make sure it has fused, and I'll show you that in a second. Check to be sure that the fusible fabric has fused to your mask. If there are some gaps, then just iron over it until it all fuses together. Using the elastic, measure your head. Look at the picture. You want to go from temple to temple around the back of your head. Pull it a little snugly, but not too tight because you do want it to stay on your head. Now here comes the hard part. So you want to turn your face mask to the front, and then you want to take your elastic, and on one side you want to make sure there's a little bit hanging over right there. See my finger? And then you're going to clamp it. Now when you do the same thing on the other side, you want to make sure that you're lining up your elastic so that it's on the same part of your mask on the other side, because you don't want your elastic to be crooked. So be very careful to make sure you're lining up your elastic, and you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. When you flip it inside out, that little hangover won't show. So go ahead and clip it. Careful to make sure that it's on the same line. And then this part needs to stay put because you don't want to sew it. So you're going to pin it down. So take your one sewing pin, your one straight sewing pin, and pin your elastic down so that it stays put. Now it's time to sew. So go ahead and place your fleece, doesn't matter which side, on top. Line it up as carefully as you can, and then you want to use your sewing clamps to clamp it down all the way around your sleep mask. Now it's time to thread your needle. Your eyelet might be a little small, but just be patient and eventually you'll be able to thread it. So thread the eyelet, pull through so that you have double thread, and that is just so that your project will be sturdy. And now the hardest part is knotting your thread. This is how I do it. Just follow my fingers if you want to try. Everybody has a different way of knotting their thread. It doesn't matter how you do it, just as long as you get a knot at the end of your thread. All right, let's get started. Okay, so please ignore the different mask and also ignore the fact that the iron-on is on the outside of the mask. I goofed. That shouldn't happen. Your iron-on should be on the inside. You shouldn't be able to see it. But anyway, just ignore it because I had to do a different mask. So all we're really paying attention is the stitches. All right, so this is called an overcast stitch, and you're gonna go over the top, continuously going over the top. I am using white thread because I just want you to see my stitches, but you have black thread too in your little pack, and you can use black thread so that when you flip it inside out, you won't see the thread. But you can use the white thread too, it's up to you. So make sure that your stitches are small, because if they're too big, then you'll have gaps and you don't want that. And also make sure that you are sewing both sides of your mask. So you want to make sure you're actually getting the fleece side and you're getting the cotton side. So just check back and forth to make sure you're sewing both sides. Don't worry about that cotton insert because that's ironed on. It's not going anywhere. So go ahead and continue to stitch all the way around until you get to that top clamp. The next thing you want to do is close your stitch, because if you don't, your project will unravel when you flip it inside out or just through wear and tear. And every time you finish you're sewing something, you have to close your stitch. If you're on a sewing machine, you would back stitch it. So the easiest way to learn how to do it is to just watch me do it on the video, because me explaining isn't going to help you at all. Another thing to keep in mind when you are about to close your stitch, don't wait until you have an inch of thread left, because it's going to be too hard to do that. Give yourself some slack, maybe a couple of inches before you close your stitch up. Repeat that a couple of times just for insurance, and then you're going to cut your thread, and then we're going to go to the next step. Okay, so now it's time to take off that other clamp and save it. And then you want to leave some space, leave a gap, because that's how you're going to flip your mask inside out. If you don't leave a gap, you won't be able to flip it. So then you're going to thread your knot and your needle again, thread your needle, tie a knot, and then you're going to continue sewing. One other tip is to be sure you're sewing as close to the edge as possible while making sure that you're sewing both sides of your mask, because if you go too far in, your mask is going to be too small. Once you have sewn all the way around, now it's time to flip your mask outside in or inside out or whatever you want to call it, and make sure you poke out the sides. Hopefully it's big enough. As you're flipping, be careful of that straight pin that you pinned your elastic. So when you flip it, be careful and then just pull it out. Now here comes a bit of a challenge. We have to close up the top. And this stitch is called an invisible stitch because the idea is that it is invisible, but it might not be invisible if this is the first time doing it. It wasn't invisible on mine, but that's okay. You're a beginner sewer and don't be too hard on yourself. So what you want to do is with your needle, you want to make sure you have a little bit of the front of the mask and a little bit of the fleece side of the mask. You want to just like gather it together and just stitch it. Just grab it. So I'm on the fleece side, I'm grabbing a little bit on the fleece side, then I'm grabbing a little bit on the front of the mask, and then I'm just pulling up. If that is too difficult for you, just do an overcast stitch over the top and it's fine. You're gonna sleep in it. Nobody cares. It don't gotta be pretty, guys. Just Just try your best. Remember, always try your best. And we're all done. Hopefully your mask came out the way you wanted it to. If you messed up big time, that's okay. You have enough fabric and enough elastic to make another one, or you can make one for a friend or family member if this one came out the way you wanted it to. Please consider joining us at ZB Teens on Instagram. We have contests and games almost every day. And until then, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!